Hi everybody, Carla Taylor here from GPSA, and I'm here with my counterpart, Chapman, CEO of GPRA. Today we want to just run through a bit of an explanation behind the whys and wherefores of our Memorandum of Understanding, joining GPRA and GPSA on specific points of alignment.
In terms of the journey to get to the MoU, we actually started last year, just after the finalisation of the NTCR review. GPSA and GPRA sat down and realised it's really important to think about how we work together in the future for the benefit of general practice in Australia. The initial discussions happened in 2023 under former chair of GPSA and have continued since then. Both boards have considered the development of the MoU, so it's taken about 12 months to then announce in March 24 that we have signed a historical MoU.
It's important that everyone understands what it means to you as members of GPRA and GPSA respectively.
The MoU is actually really strong and clear on it is about collaboration on specific type issues and concepts and tasks between GPSA and GPRA. It's also making sure that both organisations continue to operate independently, representing their members' views. So there's no loss of independence for either organisation, because at times both organisations may have a different view on aspects of the work that we do.
We have three key principles behind this, being respect, mutual support and recognition. From my point of view, the transition that we were part of last year to college-led training, it really highlighted the value of our two independent peaks as support structures for the people at the coalface of that transition, the people who were most likely to be impacted with changes outside of their control. And we really saw that a lot of that we were trying to argue for the same things.
The future GPs that GPRA represents ultimately end up working in practices, owning practices, driving reforms in general practice, and generally are members of GPSA. So it makes sense that where we can collaborate and be part of the future discussion about primary healthcare in this country, the future of general practice, that we have a mechanism to collaborate and talk to each other about our position on certain aspects, as well as what our members are thinking in relation to the future.
The main aims of the partnership are to maximise the benefits of our collaboration. It's that partnership, and it's a really natural progression. And as we describe it, the two sides of this GP training coin.
I think it's interesting, GPRA's membership represents the future workforce, but also future owners of practices, future designers of new services and new responses to patients' needs. And often how the future general practitioners see the world is not necessarily how the current state of the world looks, or they're keen to actually evolve it or change it in terms of the partnership and making sure our members' voices are heard. Really important in a world of scope of practice review, really important in terms of multidisciplinary responses to care at community level, as well as looking at those issues that impact rural, remote and regional areas, that the voice of general practice, the future and the current, is heard together at times.
One thing we hear about all the time, and we talk ourselves in the language of pipelines and pathways. As many people as can be part of building a pipeline or pathway, the road's got to end up somewhere. And it's the creation of what that landing point is that's exciting, and it's something that we can work on together. And we have that common goal of landing on a general practice that is sustainable and high quality for our communities. And it's more than just the workforce, it's that workforce having a quality of life in their profession.
And what I like about the guiding principles for the MoU is that they're the same principles that we like to see and want to see in general practice every day. Concepts around collaborating together with team members, regular communication, respecting each other's confidentiality and perspective, but also having dignity and respect for each other. So the guiding principles are actually really critical to the MoU and really critical to us checking each other in processes and reviews, but also reinforcing the type of behaviour and principles that we want to see in general practice going forward.
Absolutely. And of course, we've had the lived experience of these guiding principles through the 2022 NTCR review, which is where a lot of this comes from.
The responsibilities and roles for GPRA, you can see that we've made a commitment to participate and promote, in particular, relevant research led by GPSA that has a history of good research in this sector. Certainly, we're really interested in engaging with GPSA further around some of the future workforce pathway issues, particularly relating to pre-vocational and medical students, given we are the administrator of the National General Practice Students Network. Really important to support future GPs who are showing a very early interest in their medical career in general practice. And obviously, there are times where both GPRA and GPSA's voices together will actually offer a powerful advocacy to policymakers and funders all around the country.
Our main responsibilities are around what we can do to ensure that our collaboration is really meaningful. Our education and research platforms are very well known, as Joan has said, and of course some of our most meaningful research comes from our interviews with registrars. So this is opening up that line of communication and really solidifying the non-threatening partnership nature that we have here, that this is about us giving voice to one another's causes. And they happen to be the same cause in a lot of areas.
We've already demonstrated these protocols today, participating in this joint conversation about the MoU and what it means and what it looks like. Secondly, we've already set up monthly dialogue between our chair, president, with us, and we're about to embark on a significant activity under the MoU, the next review of the NTCR. We already started frequently meeting and talking with each other. Really interesting that when we were setting up for this MoU and thinking through about the tasks that we would list under our areas of collaboration, on one hand, it's easy to say, oh, we'll just review the NTCR like we've been doing every 2 years. But when we stepped back from that, we realised the significance of what it is and what it means for general practice in Australia, that the two organisations come together to set the minimum conditions for the employment of registrars across all pathways in a time of evolution for general practice as well. We have had a long history of setting employment conditions in this country for thousands of practices and registrars. We're not saying it's been perfect. We will continue to strive to always strengthen and improve the NTCR, but its applicability in the modern era of general practice still remains. And our experience in this area is actually really important to the future of general practice and preserving the rights of both practices and registrars.
And of course, the other thing that we're equally keen to do for our members is increase the attraction and retention in the GP specialty. And I'll point that one out specifically because it is what the registrars of today are going to be just as keen about when they hit practice ownership, if that's their direction. So what we're representing is the future, and the future being achieved through a really solid current state of general practice for those training practices and all of the people on the ground.
So what next? The first cab off the rank will be the NTCR review this year, and we'll also be talking to GPSA around quality placements, what they look like in general practice now and into the future.
Anybody out there who is concerned about this, we're not amalgamating. This is not an amalgamation, but we see things through a very similar lens when we can actually tease out ideas together about what our current cohorts think and what the future cohort thinks. From our perspective, it's that much richer and it lends to better conversations with the sector about where we want to head.
The exciting bit for me and what I enjoy about representing my members is that you can't talk about the future without having the future GPs present, really broadening our advice to include what the medical students are saying, pre-vocational doctors are saying, what the current registrars in training are saying, but also what our new fellows are saying about general practice, primary healthcare, and how they want to practice in the future. It's really important we bring that to the table when we even discuss things like NTCR review, quality placements, incentives, what drives attraction and retention, answering some of these big questions that all governments of all levels grapple with at times. If members have any more questions or comments, please reach out to me at GPRA.
Or to me at GPSA. Thank you for your time.